right, hi team. Wanted to give you a recording of our training presentation. This is a presentation that you're going to use when you first start your financial needs analysis presentations. Also, if you're working with a field trainer, this is a presentation that they're using for your training appointments. We have a couple of different things going on. Of course, we work in the 401k space, financial wellness workshops, recruiting as well. This one's just very basic and the one that you want to master first. You will notice that we touch on the workshops. We also talk about, referrals and expansion in here as well. But this is more of your training appointment to see, what you're going to be able to get from your first couple of appointments with your field trainer. And also this is the presentation that you'll use for clients when you're going in to do the financial needs analysis. So this is the Success System presentation. You can actually find this on POL under the Download Center. You can find it under Success Systems, and you can also order the flip chart online. What I did is I actually kind of tailor-made mine and printed out the slides that I like the most, which you'll also find on the website. So it doesn't matter, you can order it and go in this order from POL, or you can print one out on your own. So I'm going to hold this up, try my best for you to be able to see it, but the main thing is to listen to the transitions that I use and also the extras that aren't listed on the screen or on the slide. It's also important to notice how I use my pen and how I point, okay? One of the first things that you do when you go into a training appointment, and obviously you're going out with a trainer, so you're going to be able to see this firsthand, but the main thing is to build rapport with the client. So you're asking them a little bit about themselves, about their family, what they do for work, how long they've been in the area, that type of thing. So I'm going to base this off of a training appointment, and I would say, I absolutely love what I do. I would tell my story about being a teacher, so know your story and tell it first. And then I would say, did you grow up around here? They'll say yes or no. Say, okay, well that's great. Now, did you ever have Money 101 or personal finance while going through school? Did you ever learn about that in high school? Chances are they'll say no, or if they say yes, they'll probably be like, oh, I've learned how to write a check or balance a checkbook. And I always say, yeah, I had accounting class in high school as well, and I learned how to balance a checkbook, but I was never really taught the ins and outs about money, which is crazy to me because we use money every single day and we're never taught about it. So that's what we love, and we love to do is financial education. So I'm going to get started. Now our company is Primerica. Have you ever heard of Primerica before being introduced to it through blank? You could say your trainee's name or the person that referred you. They'll probably say no. Say, okay, great. That's totally fine. If you look down here at the bottom, you can see it says referrals. We're all word of mouth referral-based companies, so you won't hear any radio or TV advertisements. You're going to learn some concepts in here that you think could be beneficial to other people. So we'll definitely ask for referrals at the end, to help us grow our business and spread our education. The second thing you'll see here is earn your business. Some of the concepts might be helpful to you, and if so, we'd love to earn your business, and if not, that's okay too. And third is expansion. So we have our office in Harrisburg, and we're currently looking for people to start with us part-time, potentially move to full-time if it's a good fit. What we look for people is good people skills. They can connect, they're not afraid to talk to people, they're excited, passionate, maybe they have some goals and dreams they want to accomplish that they aren't currently with what they're doing. We don't necessarily look for financial experience. We feel that we can teach that to you, so we more look for people who are good at communicating with others. Teachers, coaches, social workers, pastors, people like that tend to be really good. So as we go through this, if you think of anybody that might be a good fit for us to interview, we would love to connect with them and get their information. Okay, so I'm going to go through some background. Notice how I'm holding the flip chart. It's up so that they can see it. And at the end of the day, all you do is read. Okay, so when you're first getting started, you're a little bit nervous, but if you listen to this presentation and practice it, you're going to get the little extra cues that I put into it. Right, so we're a financial services company for the 21st century. So we've actually been around since 1977, and we started with 85 people. Actually, our company was founded by football coaches and teachers. We have more than 5 million lives insured and over 2 million client investment accounts. We do the business in the US, Canada, and Puerto Rico, so we're all over the place. We're the largest marketer of financial products in North America. which is pretty crazy. You've never heard of us before, but we're the largest at what we do. And we're listed on the New York Stock Exchange. Our ticker symbol is PRI. Now, are you familiar with the New York Stock Exchange? Oftentimes people say not really. And I will say, well, small mom and pop companies can't be listed on the New York Stock Exchange. So we're pretty big and everything we do is public knowledge. And lastly, we were named one of America's 50 most trustworthy financial companies by Forbes in 2015, which is pretty impressive. Everybody knows who Forbes is. And we did all of this without any national TV or radio advertising. And over here you'll see these are a couple of publications that have featured us. Many companies are investors in Primerica, companies like Prudential, Vanguard, the New Jersey State Education Pension Fund. We're an accredited member of the Better Business Bureau. And Primerica's life companies are rated A+ by AM Best. And AM Best is a company that rates the financial strength of insurance companies. It's a little bit of background about us. Now, what you can see is that we're a one-stop financial supermarket with home delivery. So you've never heard of Primerica before, but have you heard of any of the companies around the web? You wait for them to answer and look. Oftentimes you say Lincoln Financial, American Funds. You say, great, excellent. So we work with all of these companies and we do everything in the way of investments for corporations and individuals. We have legal protection, so inexpensive wills and identity theft. Long-term care insurance, which is like nursing home insurance. We save people on their auto and homeowners insurance, health insurance. We have our own life insurance company, and we also help people with debt solutions. Now, anything that we don't do in the way of taxes, mortgages, we partner with people that are able to help with those things. So we have the support of all of these companies. So as we go through this presentation, I want you to ask yourself these 3 questions. 1 is, do you think there is a need for what it is that we do? 2, are these financial concepts helpful for you? And 3, if your family and friends implemented these concepts, would they be better off? So our company's mission is to help people earn more income, which is always good, become properly protected with the right kind and the right amount of life insurance, become debt-free and financially independent, so the ability to actually retire. Now below you'll see are a couple statistics that a lot of people are facing currently. Maybe they don't apply to you, but probably some people that you know. Nearly half of all workers are currently living paycheck to paycheck, so there's not a whole lot of money left over at the end of the month. U.S. households with debt, credit card debt, carry an average balance of right around $16,000, which some people think that's a lot, some people wish they had that much. 63% of people have less than $1,000 in their savings account, which if you figure if the car breaks down or their roof leaks, those are things you have to get fixed right away. And if you don't have the money in the bank to fix them, then you go to the credit card. So it's a cycle that a lot of people are in. Nearly 1/3 of people need more life insurance, and actually 95 million people have no life insurance at all. More than 1.5 million people file for bankruptcy every year. And lastly, and the craziest one, is that more than half of all Americans have less than $25,000 in savings in the way of investments for retirement, which if you were going to retire today with $25,000, how long do you think that would last you? Wait for their answer. Yeah, not long at all. Maybe half of a year if you're lucky, and then you're back to work, right? So how real and serious do you think these problems are? Pretty real and serious, right? So what we do is we help to prevent people from getting here, and we also help get them out of that situation. So what we believe is that people don't plan to fail, they just fail to plan. The problem is that traditional financial institutions will sell you products, but they don't provide you with a total solution. So here's you in the middle, and every month you have money coming out all over the place, into your savings, retirement, insurance, mortgage, credit cards, loans, all over. You don't typically have your mortgage person, your bank teller, your 401k person, life insurance person, all come to your kitchen table at the same time and make sure that everything's working properly for you. Has that ever happened to you? No, of course not, and it probably won't. So we take a holistic approach and we look over everything for you. So our solution is a financial needs analysis. It's a customized, confidential, and complementary program that we create for people similar to a financial GPS. So it's like if we so we ask people where they're at currently. We take an assessment. We ask them what their goals are, what their destination is, and then we create a game plan that gives step-by-step instructions of how to get there, right? And then we help our clients through the twists and turns of life to implement and tweak their game plan. And the reason that we do this is down below here. You can see that 95% of people fail when it comes to their finances. That's almost everybody, which is crazy, right? So if you could travel anywhere, where would it be? And let's say your client says Hawaii. Perfect, Hawaii. So let's say you're on the plane and the captain comes on and says, ladies and gentlemen, we're very excited that you're traveling with us today on your flight to Hawaii. We just wanted to let you know that you have a 5% chance of making it to Hawaii. Are you going to stay on the plane? Now, most clients will tell you no. You have a couple goofy ones here and there that say that they will. But you say exactly, of course you're getting off of the plane. And that's what people are doing in retirement. They're working their entire life, 40 plus years, and they only have a 5% chance of making it. We ask the question, why is that? We found it's these 3 reasons. So 1, people don't have financial education, which is something we talked about. 2, people don't have a written financial game plan or a GPS to help them. And 3, people don't have a financial coach, just someone who helps them with the twists and turns through life. And that's what Primerica does. We provide all 3 of these things for our clients. So now we're just going to go into a couple of fun concepts in the way of education, so you're definitely going to take something new away today. So one of the first concepts we teach is a financial independence number. Have you ever heard of this before? No? Okay, so what it is, your FIN for short, is the amount of money you'll have to accumulate so that someday you can live off of that money for the rest of your life and never go back to work. Essentially, it's how much money you have to have saved in order to retire. Most people think of retirement as an age, 62, 65, but it's actually a dollar amount. So here's just an example. Let's say you wanted to retire in 30 years with $30,000 a year. Okay. 30 years from now, after we factor in 3% inflation, $73,000 will spend like $30,000 does today. So you're going to need more money. So this person's FIN number is a little over $1 million. Right, so it seems like a big number, but what we do is we break it down. We say to get there, you would need to invest about $585 a month for those 30 years at a 9% return in order to get there. Now, still some people will say, well, Emily, I don't have an extra $600 lying around. And we say, well, 2 things. One is you have to know your target if you're ever going to hit it. So it's important to at least know your number. And then what we do is we find ways to save people money to help make up any shortfall that they might have, right? So how important do you think it is for people to know their financial independence number? Very important, right? That's exactly why we love to take this education out and we ask for referrals so that we can help people get this number. Something else that we teach is to bypass the middleman to become an owner, not a loaner. So a lot of people take their money and put it into traditional financial institutions. So for example, you take your money, you put it into the bank, the credit union, and insurance company. You let it sit, but what the bank actually does is they take your money and they invest it into the global economy. So whereas they might be making 10, 20+% on your money, what are they giving us back? Do you know what your interest rate's doing on your savings account currently? Yeah, it's less than 0.5%. So essentially, we're getting pennies back while they're making all of the returns. So what we teach people is to actually bypass the middleman, bypass the banks, and you can invest in a global economy yourself, and you can make the returns. Because as mentioned, banks, credit unions, and insurance companies have a historically low rate of return. Now, do you think that the banks want you to know that you can bypass them and invest yourself? No, of course not, right? They want to be able to make the money off of you. So this is my favorite rule. Always have something prepared. This up, sorry. I usually have a note card already in my flip chart, so I would definitely advise always having that handy. I'm gonna try to flip it up. kind of a timeout. This slide you need to practice. There's really only one right way to do it to get people to answer the questions the way that you want them to. You could just go through it, but for it to have impact, you need to do it this way. Okay, so this is my favorite rule. It's the only thing I remember from the first time I saw this, so we're going to play a game. Okay. Have you ever heard of the rule of 72? Sometimes they call it the banker's rule. No, you haven't. Well, I hadn't either. So what you do is you divide your interest rate into 72 to find the approximate number of years it takes for your money to double. Okay. So I'm going to give you an example. Let's say when you were born, your parents put $10,000 away for you in a 3% account. What you do is you take 72 divided by 3, which is 24. Okay, so every 24 years, your money will double. So in this example, it goes from 10 to 20, and then in another 24 years, it doubles to 40. Okay, so you're feeling pretty good, right? You have $40,000, started with 10, you didn't do anything for it. But now let's say we give you that same 10,000, but we're going to take your rate from 3 and we're going to double it to 6. So if I double your rate, what would you guess for the total at the bottom here? Most people will say 80,000, right? Because if you're doubling it. So that's what most people say, but what actually happens is 72 divided by 6 is 12. So now every 12 years your money is going to double. So what you'll notice is that at the end of 48 years, you actually have $160,000, which is 4 times the amount. So you're feeling extra good, right? Okay, now just a wild guess for this one. If we take our 6% and we double it to 12, right? So if I'm doubling it again, just a wild guess for the total. You don't have to do the math. Most people say 400,000 or 500,000. Like, all right, no one ever gets this. But what happens is 72 divided by 12 is 6. So every 6 years, your money is going to double. So at the end of those 48 years, you have $2.5 million. It's crazy, right? Now, 40,000 isn't going to get anyone to retirement, but 2.5 million could, right? So it's really important to know where you're investing your money. Now, a lot of times people say, well, where are you going to get 12%? These have meanings. So 3% is the average return for some life insurance products. 6% is the average return for banking products like CDs over any 30-year period of time. And 12% is the average rate of return for a growth mutual fund over 40 years, right? So that's something like that you would find inside of an IRA or inside of your 401k. So without introducing us to friends and family, do you think that they would ever learn the rule of 72? Probably not. You've never heard of it, right? So that's why, referring us to people that we can share this information with and educate would be really valuable. Now, I will tell you, if you're meeting with a client who is a little bit older, I would say probably like late 40s and above, I do not typically go over this slide calling paying yourself first because it will make them feel awful. But if you're sitting down with a younger client, this would be something good to go over. Okay? So you have to use your judgment and you'll see why. So the first step to paying yourself first, or the first step to financial success is to pay yourself first. When you don't, there's a high cost to waiting. So let's say you start saving $200 a month and you get an average 9% return for 40 years. So from age 25 to 65 when you're working, you're saving $200 a month. So if you start at 25, it would grow to a little less than $1 million, almost $1 million, right? So you feel pretty good. But look what happens. If you wait just 1 year from 25 to 26, that's $2,400 you didn't put away, right? $200 a month, $24 you didn't put away. But you end up with $860,000, which has costed you $84,000 from retirement. If you wait just 5 years till age 30, it's $12,000 you didn't put away, but it ends up costing you $350,000. Again, if you wait till 40, it's 15 years. It's $36,000 you didn't invest, but it ends up costing you almost $1 million, so $750,000, right? The reason being is because when you wait, you miss out on those last doubling periods on the rule of 72 I just showed you, which are the biggest ones. Right, so who are people hurting if they wait to save? Themselves, of course. All right. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about life insurance. Now, Do you have life insurance on your own, or do you see the need for it? Do you know what it's about? Wait for their answer. You say, okay, so what we want to teach is to protect your greatest asset, which is your income. And this is the coverage quadrant. So everybody fits into one of these boxes. The first box is no coverage. So it puts your family at risk, which obviously leaves uncertainty, fear, worry. Right? If you ever go onto Facebook or social media, and if somebody passed away without life insurance, you might notice a family started a GoFundMe to pay for some expenses. Right? So that's indicative of no coverage. Then you have limited coverage, which a lot of people fall into this category, which is group insurance, which is through work, mortgage, or credit insurance. Now, it's great, group insurance is great because it's free, it doesn't cost anything, but you're not in control of it, your employer is, so they can change it at any time. You have limited coverage options, you usually can't pick as much as you want, and portability issues. So if you were to leave, oftentimes you don't get to take that insurance with you. And then over on the right-hand side, you have your cash value insurance, which is protection on your income, but it also builds savings. So there's a savings account attached to it, but it's a little bit more expensive for this kind. And then you have term insurance, which is pure protection, replaces your income, and it's much cheaper. So which quadrant do you fall into? How do you protect your family? Okay, great. So I'm going to give you a little bit of background knowledge on insurance. So there's cash value life insurance, and then there's buy term and invest the difference, which is our motto. So cash value insurance has a couple of different names: whole life, universal life, and variable life. So in this example, we have John and Mary who are 30. They have $150,000 of coverage on each other, and they're paying $295 a month. Now this account is marketed with a savings account attached to it, which is called cash value. So at 65, it's projected to grow to about $124,000, right, which sounds pretty good. So how this works is part of the money you're paying goes to pay for the insurance, and part goes into the savings. Now the thing with these accounts is there's a couple funny banking rules associated with it. One is that for the first 2 to 3 years of the policy, your bank account here is at a $0 balance. Now, if you were putting money into the bank, and after a year you went to the bank and said, hey, I'd like to take my money out, and they said, sorry, you don't have any, how would you feel? Not so good, because it's your money, right? So that's one funny banking rule. The other is you can actually borrow against your savings account, but you have to pay it with interest up front, typically to the insurance company. Now, it's a little silly to think about paying interest on borrowing your own money. And the third and craziest one of all is that 99% of the time, let's say John were to pass away, Mary would have to choose between the $150,000 or the $124,000. She doesn't get both. So which one do you think she's going to pick? Well, of course, the $150,000, right? But what do you think happens to this? Exactly, the insurance company keeps it. So if you think about it, they pay out $150,000, but they get $124,000, so they're really only paying out $26,000, even though you were paying for the whole thing. So those are a couple of the funny banking rules. Primerica actually is the only company that doesn't market cash value insurance. We only market term insurance. So the way it works is buy term and invest the difference. For the same $295 they were paying over here, we were able to give them $400,000 of coverage, which is actually what they needed. We put that in place for 35 years, and we put $10,000 on their 2 kiddos, which they didn't have any on their kids over here. We dropped their premium down to $126 a month, right? So with their savings of $169, we were able to invest that just into a separate investment, like a retirement account. And at an average 9% return, they'd have about $500,000 by the time they retired at 65. So we gave them more coverage for less money and helped them invest and save more in retirement. So which program would you want? Of course you would want this one. So with term insurance, I'm going to show you a little bit about why that's the only thing that we sell and the only thing that we believe in. So there's something called the theory of decreasing responsibility, which this is how life works. So the green line represents your need for insurance coverage. The yellow line represents your savings. So in our early years, we usually need a lot of life insurance coverage. Reason being because you have young kiddos, high debt, a mortgage. Loss of income would be devastating if something happened to either of the spouses because you don't have a whole lot of money saved up in your younger years. You don't have a whole lot of money saved up because you're taking care of all of this, right? So that's why more insurance coverage is so important in the beginning. And then over time, we help you save and invest so that at retirement, you have your money in your retirement saved. Hopefully at that point, your kids are grown and out of the house, your debt's lower, your mortgage is paid off, you're pulling from your retirement income, your insurance need is a lot less because you don't have these responsibilities anymore. And if you need anything, typically it's just a small policy. So what life insurance company do you know of that teaches you to eliminate the need for life insurance? None, right? Most insurance companies want you to pay forever. We teach you how to not need it forever. Okay. Just a couple more tidbits for you. Have you ever heard of debt stacking? Sometimes they call it debt snowballing. All right, so this is one of my favorite things. This teaches people how to get out of debt quicker. So this person is age 35, and they've got a couple of credit cards, they have a car loan, and a mortgage. Now this is what they pay every single month towards their debts, so their total debt payment is right around $2,700 a month. Now, if they continue to pay it off the way that they are now, it's going to take them 23 years to pay it off and cost them $214,000 of interest, which is crazy. You could buy a nice house with that, right? So what we teach is debt stacking. So no extra out-of-pocket money, just a different way to pay it off. Let's say this person pays off this credit card. Now they have an extra $220 a month in their bank account since it's paid off. What do you think most people do with this $220 a month? Right, they spend it. But what we say is you're already used to not seeing it. So instead of spending it, you take that $220 and you stack it onto your credit card number 2. So instead of $353, it's actually going to be $573, which will accelerate it and pay it off faster. Right? Once this one's paid off, you stack it onto your car loan. So now you're putting $1,100 a month towards it, paying it off quicker, and you keep going. So what you'll notice is that their debt payments stay the same the entire time. But if they follow this debt stacking plan, at age, they're going to be paid off in 9 years, which is age 44, which is 14 years sooner, and they'll have saved $130,000 of interest, which is crazy. That's a lot of money. So we got them out of debt and saved them a lot in interest, but what we say is you're only 44. Once your debts are paid off, if you invest that $2,700 a month at that average 9%, at retirement age 67, it would grow to about $2.4 million, which is awesome. We love to take debt, something that weighs down on a lot of people, and use it as a positive to help them invest for the future. Now, do you think financial companies and credit card companies want you to know about this? No, of course not. They want you to stay in debt as long as possible so they can collect the interest. So we love debt stacking and giving everybody their debt freedom date. So at the end of the day, what our solution is to build someone's financial house, right? So just like a real house, we start with the foundation and we work our way up. So we look at protecting your income with term life insurance. We put budgets in place and a proper emergency fund and a will. 9 out of 10 people don't have a will, so that's something that we think is really important. We help people get out of debt quicker, safer retirement, college education if that's important, and then other goals and dreams. So over here, you can see this is our financial needs analysis. So on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the highest, how would you rate your desire to become properly protected, debt-free, and financially independent? A 10? Great. So when clients say 10, typically what I recommend is setting up a follow-up time to complete a financial needs analysis. Now, what that is it'll take us about 30 to 45 minutes, set up a time to come back. We have some financial documents prepared, and we'll go ahead and create our inventory, ask you what your goals are, and we can start the game plan from there. And the game plans are great. I like to say, because I have a lot of clients who have a lot of this stuff going on already, and it's kind of like we come in and we take your whole financial picture and we put it onto one sheet of paper. So everything is organized, but you can also see based on what you're doing, where you're projected to be, And also if there's any tweaks, we can recommend that for you as well. So why don't we go ahead and look and see when we can schedule a time to get together. Pull out your calendar and you say, what days of the week are typically best for you and your spouse? And you go from there. Now, if you have a client who perhaps isn't super sure about doing a financial needs analysis, what you can do is flip to the next page so that they can see what one looks like. So if you're kind of getting a vibe where they're not too sure, say, well, let me show you an example of what it looks like. Right. So in this example here, we have John and Mary, 30 with 2 kids, real clients, we just changed their name. This was their situation before sitting with us and then after. So what you can see is that they have $165,000 left on their mortgage, 24 years remaining, $13,000 in credit card debt to be paid off in 58 years. So they're not scheduled to be debt-free until 88, which is crazy. No one wants to be in debt that long, right? So what we did was that debt stacking plan I just showed you. With that, we were able to get them out of debt in 20 years at age 50, and we saved them $56,000 of interest and 4 years of mortgage payments with no extra out-of-pocket money, just a different way to pay it off. So even if we stopped right there, that's a pretty big game changer for that family, right? And they'll say right. But we didn't stop there. We looked at life insurance. Now this is the same example I just showed you. They had the $150,000 of cash value insurance, paying $300 a month. Over here, we gave them $400,000, almost 3 times the amount of coverage, $10,000 on the kiddos for 35 years, dropped their cost to $126, so that they could have the $169 of savings to invest. They didn't have a will, so we set them up with a will with our provider law firm. They had auto and home insurance paying $243 a month. Now what we do, we work with Answer Financial, and they shop the top 15 to 20 carriers in the state, give you apples to apples coverage. And in this case, we were able to save them $65 a month, which they wanted to invest for college for their kids. So they took the $65, invested it for 20 years at an average 9%. It grows to about $43,000, which that's not going to pay for everything, but it's certainly going to help, right? And then lastly, we have their retirement. They had $20,000 saved in an IRA, but it was only at the bank earning 1.5%, saving $100 a month. They're projected at 65 to have about $89,000, which if you were going to retire with $89,000, how long do you think that would last you? Not long, right? A year, maybe 2 if you eat every other day, right? And then you're back to work. Well, what we did was we rolled their $20,000 into mutual funds, and we increased their savings to $269. And how we did that was the $100 they were already saving, plus the life insurance $169. Now at an average 6% rate of return, they'd have about $500,000, and at a 9% rate of return, they'd have about $1.2 million. So what you can see is this was no extra out-of-pocket money for these clients, right? Our whole motto is, why overpay insurance companies if you can put that money back into your own pocket and have a successful retirement and hit your goals? So oftentimes when we sit down with people, they might have all of this stuff in place, but we can typically find a better situation and prepare them for their goals. So now that you've seen that, is a financial needs analysis something that you'd be interested in? We'd love to set that up, come back and chat with you and your spouse for about 30 minutes and create that plan for you. As I mentioned in the beginning, now this point you go back to the front. Depending on the type of person you're with, you kind of probably have a mental image of what you want to accomplish. There's 4 things that can come out of a training appointment. 1 is that you will get referrals, right, which is great. 2 is that you'll schedule a financial needs analysis and potentially close business. 3 is you'll recruit that person or get recruit referrals, which that's actually the goal. You really want to be able to hire and train people. So showing how easy this is very important. And then the 4th thing, if none of that happens, it's good training for you and good practice, okay? So we just finished that. If you didn't schedule the financial needs analysis, then you ask them. So who do you know that's similar to yourself, married, homeowner with kids, that you think could benefit from hearing this information? And you collect the referrals. Who do you know that you think is teachable and coachable, maybe in the teaching world or is really good with people, that could simply learn this process and then go ahead and spread this education, and you collect your referrals. So as I mentioned, we have a couple different things going on. We have wellness workshops, we have more recruiting opportunities. At the end of the day, if they seem interested in something, what you want to do is set a follow-up time to connect. If you don't set the F&A, set a follow-up time to invite them out to the office to one of our Wednesday meetings. You can invite them to come out to a Saturday training, or to meet with your upline or your regional vice president if you think it's a good fit. So hopefully that was helpful. And practice, practice, practice. Practice this yourself, practice in the mirror, and then practice with somebody at home.